All right, getting back to the interview. My next and possibly most important question is, what, if any, impact would Freemasonry have on a person's role in the truth movement?
Well, Freemasonry is really all about the individuals who are part of it. Like we were saying before, Freemasonry has no set political ideology. Freemasonry has no set religious or spiritual ideology other than belief in a supreme deity and the immortality of the soul. So really it's up to the individual what being a Mason in the truth movement means to them. For me, being a Freemasonry, and it's bigger than just the truth movement, part of the reason why I became a Freemason is because I'm following a long lineage of revolutionaries. No matter what their political stripe, whether I agree or not. Obviously, I tend to agree more with a libertarian, anarchist type schools of thinking. So we can look at the founding fathers. Many of them were Masons. That's why I became a Freemason. Because I think that why are all these people who are promoters of liberty and revolutionaries in the cause for liberty, why are they part of this organization? So that's partly attracted me to it. And not just the founding fathers. I mean the fact that people like Mikhail Bakunin, he was one of the first anarchist philosophers in Russia, was a Mason, and Pierre Joseph Proudhon, who was another anarchist, a French anarchist, was a Mason. As well as you have many of the people involved with ideologies that I don't agree with at all, like Marxism and Nazism had members that were Masons or members of other secret orders that are related or connected to Freemasonry. So to me, it's really about the individual and how it relates. I mean, like I said, I came into it as someone in the truth movement. I was in the truth movement, in the Patriot movement, before I was a Mason. I had questions and concerns about Masonry being in this movement, but the further and deeper I researched, I realized that a lot of those questions were baseless or were skewed by disinformation. So it became a thing for me to prove it to myself what it was all about by getting involved. You know, what better way to find out about something than getting your hands dirty in it? So for me, like I said before, Freemasonry has been a vehicle not only to educate people in the Patriot Truth movement about Freemasonry and how it may or may not relate to the New World Order, but also to educate Masons and occultists in general about the New World Order and about how occult societies and occult ideologies, including Freemasonry, may influence or be part of the New World Order's ideologies. That doesn't mean that you throw the baby out with the bathwater. Doesn't mean that all Masons or all occult societies or organizations are bad. It just means that some people use it for that. I mean, really what Freemasonry is it gives you the tools to refine yourself as a man. Whether that means in a very exoteric sense or in a super esoteric sense. Like, we don't do ceremonial magic in Masonry, right? But many ceremonial magicians have been Masons. Well, because Masonry almost gives you the tools of morality and etiquette, or at least Masonry at least hopes to mold you into a moral person or help you become a better moral person. And that those teachings in Freemasonry of morality can be used for occultists and esoterics who want to go deeper and get involved with magic. Because once you get involved with ceremonial magic, well, then you're dealing with forces and entities. And if you don't have the proper tools to keep yourself in the bounds of high morality and not going crazy, and not exerting your power over others. You need to. What I'm saying is Masonry teaches people how to refine themselves, so they don't go into things like, if they so wish, go into things like magic and do bad things and chaotic things. It's about creating order through morality, through fraternity, through bringing men together of different things. So I would say that it's really about the individual. It's about application. Freemasonry teaches concepts, teaches what many people call ancient knowledge or divine knowledge or gnosis, right? This divine gnosis, these ancient gnosis, it's not good or evil. And that's what many religious fundamentalists seem to think. Oh, it's evil. This gnosis that the Masons have or that the occult has is all bad because it's secret or occult, which means hidden. But really it's neither bad nor good. It's an energy. It's a force. And it's up to you, the individual Mason or magician or whatever you are, and how you're going to apply that power. And that's actually taught in Masonry. If you look into Manly P. Hall, he has a famous quote in his book, The Lost Keys of Freemasonry. He says, the energies of Lucifer are seething within the second degree Mason, the fellow craft Mason. And what he means by, and he says, and it's up to that fellow craft to decide what he will do with those powers, the seething energies of Lucifer. So what he's saying here is that you got this information, this power, this gnosis. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad. How are you going to use it? It's up to you.
Let me ask you this. You say this is the power of Lucifer is seething in them.
Well, that's Manly P. Hall's quote.
Okay. Being that the power is coming from Lucifer, how could somebody use that in a good way?
Okay. Well, we should get into what Lucifer means.
Okay.
And what the etymologies of the word Lucifer are, and what is meant by the term Lucifer in the Old Testament, and what is meant by it in the New Testament, and why people connect it to Satan and the devil. And basically, Lucifer is a Latin word. It means light bearer. The term Lucifer was used by the Romans as a reference to the planet Venus. It's also a reference to the Greek god Prometheus, the light bearer, the one who stole the light from Mount Olympus and gave it to humanity, which Zeus punished him for. The first reference of Lucifer in the Old Testament, or in the book of Isaiah, I cannot quote the exact part of the book of Isaiah, but everybody has Google. Go Google it. Lucifer, book of Isaiah. And it says, Lucifer, son of the morning, how art thou fell. Basically, you would bring down the nations of the world. I'm paraphrasing. So it's saying, Lucifer, son of the morning, how art thou fell to earth and destroyed the nations of the earth. Right? This is a direct reference to the fallen angel that we know as Satan. And the chief fallen angel, which we call Satan. The chief fallen angel's name was Azazel. 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 That was the chief of the fallen angels. That's the one we now call Satan or Shaitan, the devil. Satan in Aramaic and Hebrew and Shaitan in Arabic means the adversary, the other. Okay. The next, Lucifer is not used again in the New or Old Testament. But there are references to the morning star again. which is what Lucifer means. The light bearer in Latin means the morning star, which is Venus. There are references to that again in the Bible. So, like you said, Isaiah says, O Lucifer, son of the morning, which the planet Venus, how art thou fell? And it's a reference to the chief of the fallen angels, Azazel, Satan. Now, in the book of Revelation, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, Yeshua ben Yosef, says, I, Jesus, Yeshua, am the true bright and morning star, the seed of David. So if you translate that, bright and morning star, I am the true bright and morning star, into Latin, I am the true Lucifer. What is another term for Satan and the devil? The Antichrist. You see, it's about adversary. What does Satan mean? It means adversary. It's about the other. There's God, Yahweh, His Son, Yeshua, the good spirit of God, the angels, and there's Shaitan, one of the angels who took some of the angels with him, who are now demons, bad angels, right? The other. Lucifer is a title. As you see, Lucifer means son of the morning, and it's a reference to Venus. That is a title. So, what I'm saying is that, and what Jesus is saying is, Jesus says in the book of Revelation, I am the true bright and morning star. He's saying, hey, I'm the true Lucifer. Satan is the counterfeit Lucifer. It's a title. It means light bearer. The term Lucifer doesn't have anything that means evil in it. It doesn't have anything that, unless you think light is good. And most people think light is good. Enlightenment, illumination, it means something positive. So, there's no negative reference there. The only reason why the negative reference is there because this title has been applied to Satan, an evil deity. But like I said, it's also been applied to the good deity, Yahweh, or His Son, Yeshua. So this is something that Christian fundamentalists overlook. They talk about, oh, Lucifer, the fallen angel in the book of Isaiah, so it must be evil. But they overlook that Jesus Himself says that He's the true Lucifer. Satan's a counterfeit. And that's what Satan's all about. The adversary is all about making the faithful think that he is God. I mean, that's, you know, when Satan tempts Yeshua in the wilderness, when Yeshua is fasting and Satan tests him in the wilderness, he comes as an angel.
Right.
He comes as a good angel, not as a demon. You know, and it's Jesus' intuition to know what a good angel is. So it's a title. And, you know, biblical historians also like to dissect, you know, anthropologists like to dissect the Isaiah quote about Lucifer, and they'll say, well, this, they're not talking about Azazel the fallen angel so much as they're talking about an actual Babylonian king who had the title Lucifer, or morning star. It wouldn't be Lucifer because that's Latin, but he had the title in Sumerian, morning star, and that's where it came from. But once again, we know if you study ancient history, the kings and queens of ancient Egypt, of ancient Sumeria, of all the ancient peoples were deified. They were representations of the deity. So they would have the titles as deity, both good and negative deities. So, like I say, it's a title. It can be applied to a man. It can be applied to a demon, an evil god. It can be applied to a good god. It's a title, Lucifer. So Lucifer is not, Lucifer does not mean the devil, does not mean Satan, does not mean the Antichrist. Lucifer is a title. It means the bright morning star. It means Venus, and, which is a symbol of power that can be used for an evil deity or a good deity.
What makes, is there a Luciferianism, like Luciferian doctrine?
Okay.
Do they look at themselves then obviously as the good light? Are they the good light? Do you know?
This is what I'd say, is that just now we've seen that there's different interpretations and different ideas about what these words mean, right? So, has there been people like Madame Blavatsky, and others who were connected to these streams of occult knowledge and secret societies who call themselves Luciferians and talked about the Luciferian doctrine. Yes, there are. The Luciferian doctrine for people like Blavatsky was very much the New World Order doctrine. And for many occultists who would call themselves Luciferians, it would be that New World Order doctrine. All I'm saying is that not necessarily, because the term means more than just that. And sure, there's Luciferians who probably think that that light is good, or vice versa. I mean, Pike has a quote where he says that Adonai, Yahweh, is Satan, and Satan is Yahweh.
Right.
Notice I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Lucifer is God and that Yahweh is Lucifer. I'm saying that Lucifer is a title that can be used by God or used by Satan. It's a little bit different. So people in the Luciferian doctrine, right, who believe in the Luciferian doctrine, they may say, look, the good God, Lucifer, is Satan. So they may think that doing certain things that we may think are evil are good. But that's individuals and other people. Do satanic orders exist? A Luciferian negative? Let's say that. There's negative Luciferianism and there's positive Luciferianism. I could say that I'm a Luciferian and I'm trying to channel the energy of the righteous deities and the good gods, whether it be Yahweh or Thor or the good gods, the deities who help humanity. And that's the Lucifer that I'm trying to channel, the light that I'm trying to channel, the positive light. Whereas another Luciferian might be a Satanist, and they might be trying to challenge the negative side of that light. It's all yin-yang. And essentially, my religious beliefs, I'm a syncretist. Basically, my religious beliefs are that there's truth in every religion and in every holy book and in every holy scripture. They're all talking about the same things. The energy that is deity is all the same. It is all one as much as it's infinitely many. We are all representations of that. The whole earth and nature are representations of that. As it says in the Bible, we are made in the image. So we are God ourselves. I believe that we are divine. But that doesn't mean that there's not a greater God above us, because we are finite things. We are specks of dust in an infinite universe. And we ourselves can be that good Lucifer or that bad Lucifer. It's in us. You can be the God, the Christos, the Mesha, or you could be the demon, the Satan, the Antichrist. It's all about application.
Can you go back and forth? I mean, is that something people do?
Well, obviously I think everybody can be redeemed, and I think that everybody can make right in their lives, and you can be a sinner and a negative person and then make right and do good. But you've obviously got it twisted if you think you can do a good act, to do a bad act, to do a good, I'm going to do a bad act, to do this good act, to clear up that bad act, to go back to do it. That's ridiculous, but,
All right, well, let me ask you this. Now, you mentioned, magic and entities. Is this something that you've actually seen or heard about in Freemasonry or, in these secret societies where there is an actual manifestation of magic or actual evidence of some sort of entities?
Well, like I said, Freemasonry in itself is not magic. It is not ceremonial magic. Some of the ritual aspects may be similar to ritual magic, but it is not ritual magic in the sense that although many of the, like I said, the archetypes and symbolism may almost all be the same. There's 2 pillars and all that stuff. But essentially, in Freemasonry, you may invoke deity, but it's more a general aspect of deity. Whereas in ceremonial magic, you are directly trying to invoke entities, whether good or bad, angels, demons, lesser gods, lesser divinities, to do things for you operatively. Whether that means love, whether that means money, whether that means power. And I have not witnessed those things in Freemasonry because, like I said, Freemasonry is not ceremonial magic. I myself am a magician. I am involved in ceremonial magic, which I do not do with any order. I do with my family and very privately. As I said, I am not interested in any one stream of esoteric information either. I am a syncretist. I invoke all the deities. I believe that they're all one. You know, so when polytheists say God is all one, Allah, Yahweh, whatever, yeah, I say, yeah, you're right. Because if you study polytheism and the belief in multiple gods, if you study it deeply, they all believe that all those different representations of God all have a oneness to them. And then even monotheists who believe in one God believe in multiplicity of God, because one, they believe in angels, they believe in the devil, they believe in demons, some of them believe in Jesus and saints and extensions of deity in flesh. They believe that God created everything, God's in everything, extensions of God, dividing God up. So to me, polytheism and polytheism and monotheism, these are misnomers that anthropologists use. There's no such thing as either. Monotheism is based in polytheism, and polytheism has monotheistic aspects, and monotheism has polytheistic aspects. So, have I witnessed entities being summoned, both negative and positive? Yes. Not in Freemasonry though. In my occult pursuits outside of Freemasonry, yes. In my private life, I've prayed and seen angels. I've prayed for God to show me angels, to show me and teach me and tell me things, and it's happened. You know, outside of ritual stuff, just prayer, I've seen it. In prayer, I've seen it. I mean, I've seen people die in front of me and seen their spirits leave their bodies. So it's not always in an occult, esoteric context.
Okay. Now we're going to come to this George Washington quote, in which he said, "It is not my intention to doubt that the doctrine of the Illuminati and the principles of Jacobinism had not spread to the United States. On the contrary, no one is more satisfied of this fact than I am. The idea that I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of the Freemasons in this country had, as societies, endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the first or the pernicious principles of the latter if they are susceptible of separation." What is he saying there?
This is a great quote. I've spent a lot of time looking into this quote and vetting it out, what it all means. It actually is, the quote was from a letter that he wrote to an Anglican minister, I believe. And the Anglican minister had written George Washington concerned that George Washington was a Mason, because this Anglican minister had read a book called Proofs of Conspiracy. Proofs of Conspiracy is the first book that ever mentions the Illuminati or its relation to Freemasonry. It was published in 1791 by a Scottish Freemason named John Robinson. So this reverend was saying, "Hey George, hey Washington, I know you're a Mason. What's up with the Illuminati? What's up with this book?" He sent George Washington a copy of the book, Proofs of Conspiracy, and said, "Hey, what's up with this book and the Illuminati, Jacobins, and their infiltration of Freemasons?" And this is what George wrote. And to vet out what he means by this is that basically the book, Proofs of Conspiracy, which is a book that I recommend to read if you want to know about the Illuminati and the New World Order. Milton William Cooper in Behold the Pale Horse cites it as a primary source. Like I said, it's an original source document. It's the first book ever written that mentions the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, and how that relates to Freemasonry. It was written by a high-level Mason. John Robinson was a Scottish Rite Mason, Knight Templar Mason. He himself was asked to join the Illuminati and actually took the first few degrees in the Illuminati in Scotland. And he realized that their goals were the New World Order and globalized socialism, basically. And he realized that they were trying to infiltrate Freemasonry and had infiltrated Freemasonry, as well as infiltrate other groups like the Jesuits, as well as start their own orders with new names, like the Odd Fellows, which they did do. I guess I'll just start from the top. I was discussing the George Washington quote that you read, which, like I said, was in response to an Anglican minister sending him a copy of Proofs of Conspiracy, which is the first book ever written about the Illuminati. It was written by a high-level Mason who had become a member of the lower degrees of the Illuminati and wrote this expose saying, basically warning Freemasons that the Illuminati was infiltrating our organization.
Right.
So the book Proofs of Conspiracy isn't written in an anti-Mason way. It's written in a way saying, hey, look, it's really written as a warning to Masons that their organization is being infiltrated and usurped by the Illuminati, right, who have this globalist, one-world socialist agenda. So this reverend sent this book to George Washington and wrote this letter asking these questions and concerns about Masonry because he knew that George Washington was a Mason and thought maybe George Washington could answer these questions. What George Washington states, he does not doubt that the Illuminati existed or that they had infiltrated Freemasonry. He actually says no one is more aware of that fact that Freemasonry has been infiltrated by the Illuminati than himself. But that and now this is the part that I think Washington is very naive. He says he's either naive or he's outright lying. He says, but I do not believe that the doctrines of the Illuminati and the Jacobins infiltrated American Freemasonry. He says he doesn't doubt that it infiltrated Freemasonry in Europe. He doesn't doubt that the Illuminati and the Jacobins are here in the United States. He only doubts that Freemasonry in the United States was ever controlled by the Illuminati or ever infiltrated by the Illuminati. And I would say that either he knows damn well that the United States Masonry was infiltrated by the Illuminati and is keeping quiet about it, or he's very naive and he's just trying to protect the craft of Freemasonry from the Illuminati.
Right.
So I don't really know which one it is, but that's what and Jacobinism was the French revolutionaries, and it's very much connected to the Illuminati. They had what's called Jacobin clubs. The Jacobin clubs were essentially Illuminati clubs. Because like I said, the Illuminati didn't just infiltrate other orders, they started their own orders. And the Jacobin clubs were one of the many orders that the Illuminati started. So when you talk about the Illuminati and Jacobinism and their doctrines, it's basically the same doctrine.
All right, let's see. I know you've gone over a lot. Is there anything else that you would want to say about what Freemasons believe? For instance, it's widely believed that, for instance, a 32nd degree Freemason, I don't know if they're instructed or what, but that they worship Baphomet, for instance.
That's another whole can of worms, just like Lucifer, what Baphomet is. I can tell you this. I am not saying that Baphomet has not been discussed in Mason Lodge amongst the brothers. It has. And what that means and what Baphomet actually is, it is discussed amongst Masons at low levels as well as high levels. Because Baphomet is a very interesting thing throughout history and what it actually is.
Well, could you comment about that?
I will. I will say this. Baphomet is not mentioned officially in the 32nd degree, or any of the degrees of Freemasonry. It's not officially mentioned. So when you get to 32, no, you are not instructed to worship Lucifer. There's not an idol. You're not instructed to worship Baphomet. There's not an idol of Baphomet brought before you. You do not get the choice between worshiping Baphomet and spitting on a cross. All that is sensationalism. It's been made up. Baphomet is a subject discussed amongst Freemasons because Baphomet is one of the many things that the Catholic Church accused the Knights Templar of worshiping back in the Middle Ages. One of the things that got the Knights Templar excommunicated and made illegal and persecuted, and many of them executed. So we say, what's Baphomet? Okay, now I've studied Baphomet quite a bit. We all think of Baphomet as the image of the half man, half goat, cross-legged, sitting on top of the globe, one hand pointing up, one hand pointing down, a sun and a moon, with a torch between the goat's heads and a 5-point star on the goat's forehead. And that's the typical image that we all have of what Baphomet is. Well, first of all, that image of Baphomet was drawn in the late 1800s by a Mason and a ceremonial magician named Aletheus Levi. So that's not the Baphomet. If the Templars were worshiping the Baphomet, that's the image that we all know as Baphomet wasn't what the Templars were worshiping. The image that we all know as Baphomet today was what a guy in the 1800s thought that Baphomet should look like or did look like. If you research the Knights Templar and what they were accused of and what Baphomet is, you get all types, like the Catholic Church, when they're accusing the Templars of Baphomet worship, they describe the Baphomet as many different things, from a 3-faced or 2-faced idol of a bearded man to a goat's head to an actual severed head of possibly a saint, possibly St. John the Baptist or something, because relics of saints, including bones and actual remains, were considered relics. Many times remains of a saint were considered holy relics. So the bones of a saint could become a worshipful relic, let's say. So there's the Catholic Church, even in their accusations of the Templars as to worship of Baphomet, they're unclear what Baphomet is. Then we start looking at the etymologies of the word, which is my favorite thing, is the origins of words. And it seems that the word Baphomet is a European corruption of a Moorish Spanish word. And of course the Moors were the Arabs who were in Spain. So Moorish Spanish is a dialect of Spanish that's heavily influenced by Arabic. And Baphomet in Moorish Spanish is Bufamate. And that means the father of understanding in Moorish Spanish. So you can see that it would be very easily to take the word Bufamate and corrupt it into the word Baphomet. Okay. Now, the Moorish Spanish word Bufamate is itself a corruption of the pure Arabic word, which is al-Bufamate, the Bufamate, the father of understanding. What is the father of understanding? Well, that's all in the eyes of the beholder, I believe, but I'd say that most Jews and Christians and Muslims would believe that Allah, Yahweh, God, is the father of understanding. I mean, understanding is certainly a positive attribute, we would all agree, I think. So the father of this understanding, a positive attribute, must be a positive entity. So, there's also reference to Baphomet, they say Baphomet, the goat or ram of Mendes. So then I got to this point with the etymology of the word Baphomet, where it said it was from Arabic, al-Bufamate, the father of understanding. But then there was this thing, the ram or goat of Mendes. So I was like, oh, let me look into that. What's the ram or goat of Mendes? Mendes is an Egyptian city, an ancient Egyptian city. So I look into my Egyptology books, and I go in the back in the Budge's book of Egyptian gods, and you look up goat or ram of Mendes, and you look, and there it is. And it's this goat. It's more like a regular goat. It's not half goat, half man. It's a goat. And he's got some serpent imagery on him, just like the Baphomet with the caduceus serpents rising out of its crotch. It's got some other, it's got a winged serpent, which relates to the image that we know of Baphomet, because the Baphomet that we know is winged. Plus it's got the two serpents coming out of his crotch. It also has a serpent on the pineal gland of the goat, which in Egyptian, the symbol on the forehead of a snake on the forehead is a symbol of knowledge or illumination. So it's the same as the symbol of the torch of illumination in the middle of the goat's horns coming out of the pineal gland. So it's that same archetype. It looks a lot different than the Baphomet we know, but it's the same archetypes. And that ram of Mendes in Egyptian is called Bat-Hat Metmat. Now think, Bat-Hat Metmat is the Egyptian goat of Mendes, the father of understanding. Then you corrupt that word in Arabic and you get Al-Bufamat. From Bat-Hat-Mat, you get Al-Bufamat. And then from Al-Bufamat, you get Baphomet. And then from Baphomet, you get Baphomet, what we have now. So, I don't really know what Baphomet was or Al-Bufamate was. In terms of what I can see, the original Egyptian form of Baphomet was one of the many ways to illustrate deity. And Al-Bufamat was an animistic way of making deity. I mean, Egyptian deities, good ones and bad ones, have animals as a symbol for them. You know, Horus has a hawk head. So it's that same type of thing. It's like Horus has a hawk head. Horus also can be represented by a bull. Horus can also be represented by a ram or a goat, the goat of Mendes. And, I mean, the same thing with Yahweh. We start talking about the Old Testament. I mean, think about the book of Ezekiel. When Ezekiel goes up in the wheel, what's he see? He sees a creature with a man's face, a cherubim with a man's face. He sees a cherubim with a bull's head, a cherubim with a lion's head, an eagle's head. That's the fourth one, right? An eagle's head, a lion's head, a bull's head, and a human's head. They're showing you these are all representations of deity. Yahweh works through animals, and they're symbols of Him. Yahweh works through man, and man is a symbol of Him.
All right.
But no, we do not worship Baphomet openly in lodge. No, high-level Masons do not. Maybe the parallel orders that I talked about before that are more satanic and Luciferian, they may openly worship the Baphomet or a negative version of the Baphomet, but it's not worshipped in high-level Freemasonry. Although it is discussed because it's a topic connected to Freemasonry and groups like the Templars that Freemasonry looked to as predecessors of the craft. Or Freemasonry is looked as a predecessor to Templars.
Another thing that people tend to say about Freemasonry is that the people lower down, and I know you're not that low down, but they'll say the people lower down really don't know what it's about, and they're just used as gophers by the people higher up. And so they may be working to do things that are not good, not even knowing it. Is there any truth to that?
I'd have to say no. And the reason why I say no is, first off, yes, you could say it's in hierarchy, right? There's a graded system of degrees that get higher and higher. It's not a traditional hierarchy in a sense that as we know hierarchies. First of all, the third degree, Master Mason degree, is the most important degree. And in Scottish Rite and in York Rite and in the high-level degrees, it's always reinforced that everything that you're learning in the higher degrees is in the first 3 degrees, and that Master Mason is the most important of all the degrees. So you could really say that Master Mason is the highest degree, and that the degrees above Master Mason are just helping refine a Master Mason. And they're not really about being above the Master Mason degree. Then also, to say, why I'd say that's not true is, okay, let's say that higher degrees do get a little bit more info, or like they get to know more because they've gone up through more degrees, right? They've taken more degrees. And let's say that there's some truth to that. Okay, fine. That is one thing. Saying that these lower guys are just gophers for the top who have this agenda that they're getting these people to do unbeknownst to them is ridiculous, in the sense that Freemasonry has no one political agenda. So I'd ask anyone who's making this claim, what are these lower Mason gophers being asked to do that the high-ups want them to do?
Right.
There's first of all, there's a misconception about Masonry that although Freemasonry is a worldwide organization, there is no central leadership worldwide. There is no central leadership here in the United States. Actually, George Washington set up the Grand Lodge of the United States, and he followed the Constitutionalist model and made a Grand Lodge for each of the 13 colonies, which now there's a Grand Lodge for all 50 and 51 states, including Puerto Rico. And each of the Grand Lodges for each of the states is an autonomous, sovereign Grand Lodge from all other Grand Lodges. We don't get anything dictated to us. So everything that New York Masons do, we do on our own. We're not getting told what to do from England or from any other place in the United States or any other place in Europe. There's no centralized leadership. It's very decentralized. So once again, a blue lodge, the first 3 degrees, which are the most lodge you see in a neighborhood, a typical town lodge is a blue lodge, they don't confer the Scottish Rite degrees. They don't confer the higher York Rite degrees. They confer the first 3 degrees. Though the higher bodies, the Scottish Rite and the York Rite, they have, as those bodies, have no direct say over what the Blue Lodge does. The Blue Lodge is a separate entity. And the Scottish Rite and the York Rite are Masons from hundreds of different Blue Lodges all throughout the state of New York. So it would be a real hard, they'd have a real hard time. Let's say the elite let's say there's an elite cabal in the Scottish Rite, they'd have a real hard time getting the lower guys down doing what they want, because they exert no control from the higher degrees into the lower degrees. It's a separate body.
Okay.
I had a question. What's the difference between a 33-degree Mason or 33rd degree Mason and the Council of 33?
The 33rd degree is an honorary degree. The highest degree in the Scottish Rite is the Sublime Prince of the Royal Secret, which is the 32nd degree. Brothers are given the 33rd degree as an honorary degree for doing work in the valley, in the Scottish Rite. From the 33rd degree, from those who make it to 33, a governing council for the Scottish Rite, not for Blue Lodge, is elected from the members of the 33rd degree. That is the Supreme Council. The Supreme Council of 33rd degree is certain 33rd degree members are elected a governing body over not Freemasonry but Scottish Rite.
So we're just about done here, and I mean we have covered so many things, and I don't know what anyone would be uneasy about that we haven't discussed. As far as being a Freemason and being a truther, is there anything you can say to, kind of tell, comfort people as far as that being a Freemason is not opposed to being a truther.
Well, I'd say Freemasonry itself and its ideologies are not antithetical at all to the truth movement or the patriot movement. Most Freemasons actually pride themselves on being searchers for the truth. And most of us, including myself, see that being part of Freemasonry is part of that search for the truth. Like I said, I had my questions about Freemasonry because of the many researchers in the Truth and Patriot movement who have had their qualms with it and their questions about it. So I had many of those same questions myself. But as I got deeper, I realized it's not so much about Freemasonry or any of these secret societies or groups or religions as it's about an elite. And that there's an elite, a global elite, that doesn't care about the rest of us. And yes, they use political parties and religious and spiritual movements and political movements and philosophical movements, and they use religions and fraternities and brotherhoods and orders to their advantage. But does that make those orders or those brotherhoods or those religions or those ideologies or philosophies totally wrong or negative? Right. No.
Okay.
And I would say that the secrets of Freemasonry are, like I said, the secrets of Freemasonry are very few. They are words of recognition, gestures of recognition, and handshakes of recognition. That's the gist of the Masonic secrets. Pretty much ritually and symbolically, I can talk about everything else with you.
What about the hand signals, like
the gestures?
Like in the We Are Change photos. What is the meaning? Is there a meaning to that? Or
first of all, I can't tell you what is a Masonic hand gesture and what's not. But what I can tell you is about 90% of the hand signs you see me making in photographs may be of occult origin or an esoteric origin, but are not Masonic. They are not used in Freemasonry. This is not used in Freemasonry. This is not used in Freemasonry. Are these occult mudras? Yes. Are they used by some occult orders? Yes. This is not a Masonic hand sign. Are they used by other quasi-Masonic esoteric orders? Yes, but they are not Masonic hand signs. This is not a Masonic hand sign. Just for some examples. Me doing them in photographs mean nothing other than I'm a Mason, I'm an occultist making some hand signs, and maybe if you know, you'll go, hey, maybe a Mason will see it and go, hey, that's a Mason. Oh, there's Masons in the Truth movement. Maybe I won't throw out the Truth movement as a bunch of anti-Mason crazies. Maybe I'll look into what they're talking about because there's Masons involved. As well as, like I said, I'll clear up the discrepancies for the people in the Truth movement. For me, Freemasonry has, like I said, it's not antithetical to the Truth movement because, like I said, the secrets within Freemasonry, what are they? They're words, they're gestures. They're actually not that deep. And even if you see them as being deep, okay, they're deep in a very spiritual sense. The words come from the Old Testament. You know, there's a sense that these words and gestures, that them being secret, is that in itself is what makes a Mason, even though they may not be that important to anybody, they're just words and gestures. For us to keep it secret, it makes it almost like a spiritual thing. Whereas even if it's not directly spiritual, it's like just that we hold it as something sacred, that we don't just do in front of people or blat out, in public these words or these gestures, give them a sacredness, and that,
like a brotherhood.
Right. And I have secret, like I said before, Every human has a right to secrecy at some level. If that secrecy isn't being used to control or hurt others, what's wrong with it? Everybody has secrets. And like I said, the Fourth Amendment gives us a constitutional God-given right to keep secrets. And once again, if those secrets are not infringing on anybody's liberties or manipulating them in any way, negative or positive, people should have no problem with it and see that it's not antithetical to the truth movement. The truth movement came out of the Patriot movement. All right, it's directly connected. You can say it's part of the Patriot movement, it's part of the constitutional movement, it's part of the libertarian movement. We believe in privacy. These movements believe in privacy. If the only thing the Masons have are secret are a bunch of words and gestures, and you shouldn't be worrying. We shouldn't worry about it. I understand you may have your questions, and people may have their questions, but I say, look, this is what it is. It's words, it's gestures, it's not anything else, there's nothing to it. There's no political ideology. There's no one set religious or political ideology or philosophy. So therefore, are there Masons who believe in globalization and the New World Order? Yeah. The majority of Masons are mainline Democrat and Republicans, for the most part. The majority of them voted for John McCain or Barack Obama. And then there's a good amount of Masons who are totally apolitical. They don't want anything to do with politics. And then there's probably a small minority of Masons like myself who are strict constitutionalists and libertarians. So like I said, the secrets of Masonry aren't that we support the New World Order. The secrets of Masonry aren't that we worship Baphomet or Lucifer. There may be Masons who worship the devil. There may be Masons who worship Baphomet. There may be Masons who are Luciferians. Well, there's plenty of Masons who are good Muslims and good Christians and good Jews as well. There's Masons who are pagans. There's Masons who are agnostic. There's just not atheists. You just have to believe in a God. So it doesn't matter what that God is. It could be Satan. So, it's just about believing in God. What I say is, people in our movement shouldn't be so concerned with their secrecy. They should be concerned about elites in particular, but particularly elites using secrecy to carry out specific agendas, like the New World Order, like globalization, like depopulation, like the evisceration of our constitutional liberties. So that's when the truth movement and the patriot movement should start questioning secrecy, is when you know that it's being used for a particular agenda. And like I'm saying, are there Masons that have that agenda? Yes. Are there Masons that use Masonry as a vehicle for that agenda? Yes. But is that all Masons or the majority of Masons? No.
Okay. All right, now going on with We Are Change, in a quasi-political fashion, and there's a lot of rumors and all that out there. And I wanted to give you a chance to, put a word in if you want, and if you don't, we'll edit that out. We'll edit my even saying this out. And I think John Kraus, the cameraman, might have a question or two.
Well, I'd first say that there's no reason to edit anything I've said. No reason to edit anything that I've said tonight. You came and you asked me that if this rumor was true, that I and Luke Rudowski were stepping out of the truth movement or the patriot movement and weren't going to be involved anymore. I'm not going to speak for Luke Rudowski. I'll only really speak for myself. This is baseless. It's untrue. I am committed to the patriot movement and quote-unquote truth movement. We Are Change. I'm a grassroots organizer of We Are Change. I'm organizing a street action tomorrow. This rumor, I take it, was started because people like Louis B. were aware that there's been some controversy in We Are Change New York City. He called it, I believe, a rift in the group, and that's why we were leaving. There is no rift in the group. I am not stepping down or leaving. I'm just as much as involved as I always was, if not more. I think this discrepancy arose because right now the grassroots membership of We Are Change, which I'm a member of, we are publicly stating that we are autonomous and sovereign from any one individual, and that includes Luke Rudowski. That's not because Luke Rudowski is guilty of anything. That's not because we're blaming Luke for anything, but it's because because we know that Luke has his thing that he's doing. He wants to do confrontations and he wants to make documentary films. Well, the grassroots of We Are Change, we may want to do confrontations, but we want to keep educating the public and doing street actions and doing film screenings and doing workshops. So basically, we're just saying that we're independent and autonomous just to make clear that we're doing our own thing, even if Luke's not at ground zero with us, even though he's not doing street actions with us, even though he's not directly involved with what We Are Change New York City is doing. He's doing his own thing. We're our own, we're not condemning him. He's still part of our group, but yet we're our own group, separate from him. He's a founder. We give him credit.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, John?
I just wanted to say this was amazing, and I wholeheartedly thank you for sharing this information with us and sharing, this night with us. It was very, very, very informative, and I hope to, share some conversations with you again someday and do some street action too.
It's been my pleasure. I'm very happy. I hope the majority of the footage gets put out there, because I feel like if it gets too much edited, people won't get the full feel of it, and they won't hear everything that I've had to say. And I think even if people are going to disagree with the things I said about Lucifer and Baphomet and all these things, just that people get to hear my understanding of how this all relates. I think that was your main point, is giving me the platform so I can give my understanding. And whether people think it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's just about getting it out there.
Right.
I would, like I said, it's a pleasure doing this.
I would like to add that the breadth of your knowledge, it's incredible. It really is.
Thanks.
I mean, I've never had a teacher who knew as much as you did about such a vast array of religion, and you delved into politics a bit, but I mean, it's amazing. You're very well read.
Thank you, sir.
And I feel that we're accomplishing the goal of making sure the movement stays united, that, no personality, or, that Freemasonry is not an issue. And I mean, I don't want to deliver a verdict right now, of course, but I just have one final question, and it's a simple one. If the people who come to, somebody, and, you said some of them can be, from the third level, recruited to the Illuminati or whatever. If they came to you, would you be interested in that at all, and why or why not?
Well, first off, I'll say I'm never gonna get invited. One, because I'm not of their bloodlines. Two, they know who I am. They know what I'm about. They know the work I do. Not only am I open about Freemasonry, I'm very open about my political affiliations and my beliefs. And I'm open about them in lodge. And like I said, there's patriots who I meet through Masonry. There's libertarians and patriots and Masonry and constitutionalists who come up to me and go, and truthers and Freemasonry who I meet all the time, and they say, thank you so much for being involved with We Are Change and doing this and helping educate people in that movement about Masonry and helping educate Masons about that.
Right.
So I think that answers it, right?
Yeah, that's...
I would also say that whole rift that we talked about before, I think it was exaggerated also because I just launched a new organization which will be working hand in hand with We Are Change New York City, as well as working hand in hand with other constitutionalist and libertarian organizations and other anarchist organizations, and it's called NATA, National Anarchist Tribal Alliance New York, and I launched a new website. So I feel like people think because I started another group that I'm gonna leave We Are Change to focus in that new group. I only started that group because it's for the same reason that I work with a multiplicity of different groups. I believe that the more groups that are for the causes that you're part of, the more you're helping the causes that you want to see.
Right.
So to me, it's like a diversity of tactics.
Now, I know you grow your own food and you're a role model in that way. What 3 things are like your top priorities to get across to other people or to teach other people?
Well, I'd say my main concerns in philosophically, personally, my philosophies are mostly about individual liberty and individual sovereignty. And this is a very spiritual philosophy. It's very political and philosophical, but also very caught up into my spiritual beliefs that we are each individual's divine, that we are representations of divinity here on earth, and that divinity lives through us and our actions. So that relates to my philosophical beliefs. I believe I'm a sovereign. I'm a sovereign individual. I am the king and ruler of the 360 degrees around me and my family, and each or God, sovereign ruler of the 360 degrees of my little universe. And we are each that. And that's what I really would impart to anyone, is that the divine spark of illumination exists within mankind, within our brain. And it has existed there since man's most primordial time. And it doesn't take initiations into any group to ignite that spark. And what it takes to ignite that spark is realizing your infinite divine potential, and that we're always learning, and that we can do anything if we put our minds to it and we believe in ourselves. And that's what magic is. Magic is based on belief. Make things happen, and they're manifesting them. And I think that we can take those things in our life, and that's what I like to convey to everybody, is that we are representations of the divine. We are sovereign individuals, and that we have all the power. And that when a bunch of sovereign individuals get into a mass movement, which is the majority of the people on earth, we have all the power there is on earth. And the only thing stopping us now is the apathy, is that we do not manifest that infinite potential. And that's what's holding us back, is that we do not manifest. We're not manifesting that we're stronger than the elite. There's more of us than there are of the Illuminati. They're 1 point whatever percent of the population, 0 point whatever percent of the population. We're 99% of the population.
All right, well, I think I speak for all of us when I say that though we had a long drive here, you've made it well worth it. We're impressed, and we're very glad we came. And I thank you very much, Craig.
Of course, brother.
All right.
Anytime.
All right, I think we're done.